Joining me now is California Congressman Khanna, whose district is located in the heart of Silicon Valley. He always speaks his mind. It's great to see you. I wanted to just ask you, I mean, you know these guys pretty well. You know the industry quite well. You always speak your mind. What do you make of the courting of Trump by these tech billionaires? And I mean, some of their proactive engagement donations. Is this business as usual, or is this something different?
Well, it's not surprising. Some of them had courted him even in the first term. I remember Tim Cook flying to meet with him in 2017. The reality is that they're concerned about the power Trump is going to wield on tariffs. They're concerned about AI regulation. They're concerned about issues of who's going to decide procurement processes. Obviously, I want transparency, and I don't like that we're losing part of Silicon Valley, but that's what's motivating them.
All right, let me ask you a different way. I mean, a different type of question about this, as we're all trying to understand it. I mean, you've known Elon Musk for a long time. What do you think of the assessment from Jeff Bezos and Sam Altman that he won't use his political power to advantage his own companies or to disadvantage his competitors?
Well, look, I have said that there should be financial disclosures, and he should recuse himself where there's a conflict of interest. I don't think it really matters what someone's motive is. Members of Congress, most of us come in with pure motives, but we still have to have financial disclosures. We still have to deal with conflicts of interest, and that's because those guardrails are there for a reason. But I have said also that the Democrats shouldn't just reflexively say we're not going to work with Doge on anything. Instead, we should focus his efforts on places where there actually is waste, like the Department of Defense, which is 56% of the budget. And it was President Obama who helped create SpaceX with Ash Carter. Elon disrupted Boeing and Lockheed. So if he wants to help disrupt the five primes in the Pentagon and save money, that's a good thing.
I want to ask you about Doge, and there have been efforts to make the government more efficient. Even in the Obama administration, Jeff Zients led that one. This is different, but I want to ask you about that. But what I'm curious about, I mean, we do know that Elon Musk gave $250 million in a range of ways to Trump's campaign. There was just a rollback, according to Reuters, of the requirement to report car crashes by automated vehicles. I mean, maybe it's a coincidence, but I think the question I have is what concern you have about how his proximity could be used for his business advantage. Do you have no concern that could happen?
Well, that's why there needs to be transparency. Obviously, there should be financial disclosure, and that's why there should be vigilance from Congress to make sure that he's not going after the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, not going after Medicare, not going after Medicaid, not going after Social Security, not trying to deregulate in an industry. I mean, the first time hearing about this car regulation, but it sounds like common sense regulation, and I support it being there in terms of reporting requirements on crashes of autonomous vehicles. So if there are efforts like that, then Congress needs to speak up, and we need to hold that to account. But there also needs to be an effort for Democrats to say we're for spending money on people, we're not for wasting it. And I don't think that's very controversial to say we want to direct the efforts in looking at where there actually is waste, and we can make government better.
Look, I agree. I think they're cutting waste and making things more efficient is a good thing. I think one of the challenges, as you know, and you've pointed this out, is that there are kind of two big pots to cut from, right? There is the defense budget, which has a lot of money in it. Trump at one point expressed an openness to that during the first term, then backed off of it. And then there is entitlement cuts, which I know you're against. So I think the question is, like, if Trump opposes entitlement cuts, which he said, we'll see, if he's not going to cut the Defense Department or defense budget, how does Elon Musk get to this $2 trillion in savings?
Well, one, I'm not sure, is it $2 trillion over 1 year or 10 years? 1 year, it's almost impossible. 10 years, I think you've got to have cuts in defense. I mean, the reality is he shouldn't touch Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Trump claims that he won't. So the 56% of discretionary budget is defense. And those are being dominated by five primes. There's the F-35s that have had almost a $200 billion overrun because Lockheed has a sole source contract, no competition. You know, when I was in in Japan, Rahm Emanuel, our ambassador, said it's embarrassing. We can't even produce the weapons that we're promising because of the monopolization. Same thing happened with Ukraine. Our Defense Department was unable to produce in time the weapons. So if we can have reform of defense, that's great. But, Jen, there's a larger point here, and I have my criticisms of Musk in terms of transparency. But here's the truth. The average American, they think that someone who puts rockets up into space, that's a pretty cool thing. And the Democratic Party has to get back to being a party that celebrates building, entrepreneurship, innovation, while at the same time holding people to account. Obama had that. Clinton had that. I don't think we should be a party that isn't for building the future.
No question. Innovation is good. Cutting waste is good. I think there's some understandable skepticism about Elon Musk's role, but the effort to do that is certainly one that there should be some openness to. We'll be watching and questioning, too. Congressman Khanna, thank you so much for joining me.